welcome everybody to the April 27th Ortelius Architecture meeting. Let me go ahead and share my screen and just give you a rundown of what we got going on. All right. Close that. Okay, so I made some progress on the common code. So some of the things that I've been doing across all the repositories, and I'll show you how this works, is I've added the MegaLinter. So MegaLinter, I don't know if it's a direct fork of SuperLinter, but it is a little more flexible and easier to configure than the Google SuperLinter. And basically what it does is it goes through and checks out your whole repository to make sure it passes certain conformance tests and stuff like that. As part of that, I've gone in and reworked some of the added things to the code to make sure that it passes. So like one of the things you need is a package description. And then you need things like for anything in Go with a that starts with a capital letter is exported. Anything with a lowercase is not exported. So all of the exported structures, variables, functions have to be commented at that level. So that is all in place. Some of them are pretty basic comments just to get past the linter at this point. And I just was looking at the Open API. There is basically a plugin for Go to generate the Swagger code. So you can have your this as it runs as a microservice. You can when it starts up, you can hit it'll basically publish a Swagger page for us to look at. So I think there's going to be additional tags that we need to put in the comments for like the structures of the fields and the structures and stuff like that for the Open API Swagger stuff. So that's out there. I also did a base database layer that it still needs a lot of work, but basically it will connect up to a local Arango database that's running, or wherever we decide to host it. So this one just is running locally, and we'll be able to. What this does is goes through and creates the database. Like I said, I got to change up some of the default stuff I have in here that I've been using for testing. Creates the logs in, and then creates some collections and gives us a basic starting point for managing that database abstraction layer. So if we look at so this is all the security comments. So all this has been pushed out to that repository. The way Go works is everything's based on a tag. So I have a v0.1.0 tag out there that you'll be able to download this version of the library. So whenever we make a change to this common code, then we have to bump the version number. So the next one will be 0.11 at that level. So in order to use it, this is another repository I haven't pushed yet, but basically this will be the template that we use for the microservices. And basically in Go, there's a program called Fiber. That's their web framework that is used for like the RESTful APIs. So at the bottom here, you can see where we set up our routes for the incoming transactions and how they get routed over to a function. And for example, like a new domain function is one of the ones that I put in there. Right now, I just have the this hard coded, and I need to change it so it accepts the payload correctly. From there, we go ahead and take that object, we do our NFT stuff, and then we go ahead and add it to the collection at that level. So it's pretty basic. The other functions haven't been implemented yet. They're just placeholders, but this is where we'll keep on expanding out the microservices. And all this has to be commented for the Swagger documentation and things like that. And this is where like we connect up to the database at that level. Now, one of the things we had on our last architecture meeting was trying to decide whether the NFT storage would be part of the database abstraction layer or if it would be a microservice. And I think we should make it a microservice that all of the other microservices talk to. And the reason why I was thinking that was it'll allow us to go ahead and swap out based on the Helm charts that somebody implements, whether they want to use NFT storage or if they want to use the OCI registry. So that will allow us to swap things out without having to recompile or have different versions at that level. So that's my thought on that. So we'll need like I said, another new microservice for handling the NFT storage, for example. So in logic standpoint, after we go ahead and create the document inside of Arango, the next step after it comes back successful would be going in and sending a send message to the DB microservice. So that would be like one of the next things that we would do. And because things that when we're talking about persisting in NFT storage, because it's so slow, this will actually have to happen in basically the background. And then this microservice can return back to the client, and we can persist everything in the NFT storage at that level. So that would be one of the things that we'll need to do. And the same thing, like when we go to get something, if it doesn't exist in the Arango database, then we have to go send a transaction over to the database abstraction layer microservice, go get the data, and then do the extra work on this side. So that's how things are coming together pretty well on that front. Like I said, this I have to keep on building out the rest of this week and into next week with like what we need to do for Swagger, those type of things. Just so when I'm able to pass off this repository to Arvin to start replicating, this microservice will be like this starting point will be replicated, I think about maybe 18 or 20 times are the different microservices that we'll have. So everything will have their own repository. And as part of that, this one isn't in Git yet. If I go back to the other one, we'll have all the GitHub workflows as well. Publishing, the linting, all that stuff will be as part of that that templated work repository that we'll start with. So when we publish this, we'll be good to go for making sure we have everything's up to date. We're passing all the vulnerability scanning and stuff like that. One thing we probably won't get to that we'll have to come back around is adding the Helm charts for all the microservices. So that will be like another pass that we'll need to do against all the repositories, is is going in and adding the Helm charts at that level. Any questions on that? How it's kind of structured and how it's coming along?
Can we do the Go and the Helm chart one together, so we don't have to like iterate over them?
We could. I'd have to see. I'd like to get the template out earlier than later, but I'll see if we can do the Helm chart at the same time. I'll have to see how complicated it is.
Okay.
If not, we'll just have to come along with another pass and add the Helm chart directory basically to all the repositories. So it's not the end of the world if we have to do it in 2 steps.
Yeah.
Okay. So
each of these,
yep.
Steve, just one question here. So each of these repository will have their own charts, right?
Correct. So we'll do it the same way that Ortelius is currently laid out. Each microservice will have its own chart, and then we'll have a parent chart that includes the child charts. So, and we have that automation in place to manage the parent chart automatically. So it's it'll be easy to pull together.
And right now you're making a call to your like sample or ArangoDB, but later that call will be replaced by the abstraction layer, right?
I'm not sure. I was going back and forth on that. So if I go, which repository am I in? Yeah. So right now, like this is going off to the initialization function that's in the set comments database, basically reusable common code. So the one thing that I was thinking of, like you could technically, instead of calling the Rango like create document, that this would be actually calling the abstraction layer function that in turn then calls the create document. I'm up in the air on whether we need to totally hide the database from the microservices or let them just go ahead and interact with it directly. And the reason why I'm kind of hesitant is, let's say we have a more complicated microservice that needs to do a couple things where you get into actually running queries and doing like joins and stuff like that, pushing that over to the abstraction layer may be just too much work than it's worth. You know what I mean? To handle the edge cases. So I'm kind of up in the air on that. So we'll have to see how much we want to hide from the microservices and you know, some of the basic stuff like, you know, connecting to the database and figuring out all that makes sense to be in a common place. So everybody's doing it the same way, but actually like running a query, you know, doing that type of stuff, listing, you know, getting stuff back from the database is where I'm not sure how we want to handle that. So that's one of the things that once we get into the only part I've implemented so far is persisting the data. Once I get into fetching the data here, I'll know more better on what it looks like.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Utkarsh?
So it depends, right? So what are we abstracting? So my thought was, I think we are abstracting the database layer altogether. So right now, the technology that we are using, right, NFT plus Rango. So I was thinking our objective is to abstract these two. But looks like you are making this Rango layer a bit earlier than abstraction. So Rango would be calling the abstraction layer, and NFT would be abstracted out.
Right. It's because the Arango is the kind of like the fast database and the
Mhm.
NFT is a slow one. Interacting directly with the fast database seems at this point seems to make sense. And then, going and doing the long-term persistence back into the NFT storage would be something that we kind of need to do in the background. That's where I kind of broke it apart and said thought that we should do it into a separate, transaction to a separate microservice.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the way I've kind of been thinking of it is and Arango will always be there, where the NFT or the OCI it can get swapped out.
Okay.
Nothing set in
So
stone.
do you think
So
so do you think like OCI registry would also process the data like in the similar way?
I have a feeling the OCI registry is going to be slow as well. It's going to be at this probably the same speed as the NFT storage. And the reason being is depending on your OCI registry implementation, they could be distributed registries backed by IPFS like NFT storage. It's just that there's so many different implementations of the OCI registry. So Red Hat has their version, Google has their version, Docker Hub has their version. They all, on the front end, they all talk the same spec, but the back end implementations is slightly different.
I mean, a Docker Hub is pretty fast, right? Or any other registries?
I haven't played with the Docker the APIs directly to see how fast they work. But I'm just making that assumption that it's going to be, there's a potential for it to be slower than we want, and that slowness could hang up the front end basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. At least we have to deal with the slowness of NFT, right?
Yeah, we already know that NFT is slow.
Yeah. One more thing that I was thinking about, let's say a user is trying to fetch some data and that data is not present in ArangoDB. So what should be the flow in that case?
What will have to happen, that's on the Git side. So like in here, we'll go and basically go get the document to see if it exists in Arango, and if it doesn't, then go off to NFT storage to fetch it. So in that case, we may need to implement something on the front end to send a message back saying that you're dealing with a slow running transaction on the front end side somehow.
Yeah, something like long polling or something mechanism should be there.
Yeah, exactly. Because once it comes back from we fetch it from NFT storage, and we're going to send that data back to the end user, we're going to add it to the Arango database. So the next time it comes across, it'll be cached already.
Yeah, correct.
That's why we have to see how that's going to play out on the fetch side.
Yeah. So is this example ready that you're working on currently?
Not yet. I'll probably publish it tomorrow as a starting point. It needs a lot of work still. So if you look at so some of the stuff that has to be added to it. is, so there's this reusable code, and went to the wrong place. Maybe it was this one. Come on, load. I can't find it. Let me see if it's in my history. There it is. So basically, some of the stuff that we need to add is they give you like an example piece of code here. So like all of the these tags, sorry. What happened? So this is a sample program. So we have to go through and add all the tags. Add a little bit of code in here to enable the Swagger piece of it. It's not hard to do. And then like this is another endpoint that we have to add the tags for. And then it gets even more complicated when you get into the individual structures. There's a way to annotate all of it. So this is like annotating the main part, all the tags that have to be added, you know, like the typical license URL, those things that OpenAPI and Swagger are looking for. And then there's also, if we have a individual like parameters, all the parameter attributes and things like that. So I will get this out there, but it's going to be one of those work in progress pieces that we need to get some of that in place so people don't have to, when we let Arvin go and replicate this to all the other repositories, that it's, you know, most of the work is done and we don't have to tell people to go add this as a second pass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So one other thing, kind of show what's happening. I have also been working on our security stance and how things are being checked. So on our existing repositories, I've added on some of them, I haven't rolled it out to all of them. You'll see that we have our workflows here, and we have the MegaLinter workflow. And what that's allowing us to do, it runs on, let's see, what is it on? I think on a push. Yeah, push to main. It will run in any pull request. So basically when you create a pull request, it'll go out there and run the checks. So if you look at this one I did a couple days ago, you'll see that we have our checks coming through. So the MegaLinter is one of the pull request checks that has to pass, and basically the image has to build cleanly before you can go ahead and enable the merge. So what ends up happening with that is if we look at our code scanning, we can see that we have some high issues that have to be addressed at that level. And this is coming from the OpenSSF scorecard step as well. Some of these we just can't fix. So I have to look to see how we go ahead and basically ignore them at this level. Like token permissions, because we create a Helm chart, You need write permissions to the repository to do the release, and that gets flagged as a issue by the scorecard at that level.
Steve, is the MegaLinter like the one linter to rule them all?
It's that one and SuperLinter are the two. So let me go ahead and.
And you chose MegaLinter.
Yeah, I started out.
Whoa.
I started out
100
with
supported linters. Cheapers. That's insane. That's cool. What a great find.
Yeah. So if we
It's
go
like the
to
Walmart, is it like the Walmart of linters?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it was put together by Walmart.
So Walmart have a nasty habit of collapsing on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, I don't have anything. So you can install it locally, and there's basically a shell script that I can't remember if I did a brew install, but basically you install it locally, and what it does is it actually runs through a Docker image. So if I happen to have the image locally, if it doesn't, it's going to bring down like a 7 gig image to work through.
7 gig image. Wow.
Yeah, because it has all these tools installed into it.
Hmm.
So, and there's if we go back while that runs.
So glad my internet got upgraded.
Yeah. There's a YAML file that is used to kind of configure what you want it to for it to do, like where the config file is for Python Black. Exclude. One of the things that it'll trip up on is the Helm templates. This YAML linter doesn't know how to deal with Helm templates. They're YAML files, so we have to do some exclusion, things like that. The spell checker just falls over, goes crazy on some of the technical words that we use and stuff like that. So you have this config file, and what it does is it goes through, gets going, and it says what it's going to do. And one of the things that it can do is it will actually fix up the format. So like trailing spaces, new line characters, spaces in between words and things like that, and markdowns and JSON. This linter can actually go ahead and fix that for you. And what ends up happening is it actually fixes the code, and then you have to recommit that fixed up code. So this one, because it's a Go repo, we're running the 2 Go linters in this one. If we go over to the Python one, it'll run the Python linters. And
you've left the formatting off. Sorry to interrupt you on the Go. So
yep.
You wanted to like arrange it the way it thinks, right?
Yeah, Go has when you're inside of Visual Studio, the Visual Studio plugin for Go automatically formats it every time you hit save. So that's usually pretty well. Cool. This will catch if they're not formatted correctly, and then you just have to go format them manually. I think there's a Go FMT program you could do as well. So you can see where it's going through, running all the different linters. And it will, like right now, it's going through the repository history and checking for any secrets that are in the repo history.
Very nice. Oh, great tool. Wow.
So this is one of the, so I ran it manually just by running the MegaLinter command. You can also set it up as a pre-commit hook to your Git repo. So on the pre-commit, it will go ahead and run the MegaLinter to make sure everything's linted and looking correctly before your commit gets pushed in. So we could actually see here, we actually failed one of our linters. And looks like just a timeout. So I may have to go adjust the timeout at this level. It may be because I have Zoom running that it's just out of resources. But like to fix this, there's a timeout option, and then in the MegaLinter, you could do, there'll be like a keyword. It'll be like golang CLI lint pre-command or commands or args or something like that. It's all documented, and you just pass the timeout. So that's one thing that's been coming along with all of the repositories, trying to roll that out. So all the new repositories should have the MegaLinter in place. And one of the things with the scorecard is the scorecard from the OpenSF counts if you have a linter in place or not. So you get so many points for having linting in place at that level. So if we actually look at this repository, this is the repository I play with a lot. So let's see here. So our score is, whoops. Go back. Great, there you go. Come on, refresh. I can hear my fan on my laptop's gone crazy, so something's sucking up resources.
The MegaLinter.
That one finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So here, so as part of the README, I've added the additional tags. So the current release number, Sasha, you were able to figure that one out. There's the patch, the license tag. Our current build is passing, MegaLinter passed, CodeQL passed, and our score is a 7.6. And on Discord, we got 20 folks online.
Yeah, that's so cool, huh? That's so cool.
So, and these are dynamic. So as we fix things, if we fix our OpenSF score, this will get dynamically updated.
It's like driving down the street and having neon lighting for your repos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Also, I see all the GitHub notifications, they are so huge.
Yeah, it's the stuff that I've been learning is really, really nice. You know, getting these things in and making sure that everything is clean. It's amazing what you learn when you run the linters, and the linters are saying, oh, your coding style, you've done X and you should be doing Y. And it really helps understand, oh yeah, that is a better way to do stuff.
So
Yeah,
Steve,
Yeah.
is this adding time to the build of the pipeline?
A little bit, but I think what ends up happening is the MegaLinter is a separate, so all of these are separate workflows, but there is a hard check on MegaLinter completing successfully before you can do a PR merge. So even though these are all the build push, the CodeQL, the MegaLinter, the scorecards will all run in parallel. You have to wait for the required ones to finish before you go and do your merge.
Oh, that's nice.
And then if you look like the build push one here, let me find one off of main. Yeah, here's one off. And then like this one, I figured out on how to basically set the environment variables once and then pass them along to all the different steps. So some of the things that we do is like an image tag. So we determine what the image tag is once. It's one of those weird things. GitHub doesn't have the 7-character short commit. There's no variable for that, so you actually have to derive it, and we use that a lot. So that's like what this set env does, is derive that variable, and then we do the build, and then once the build's done, then we do the Trivy, the Helm, and the SBOM, all in parallel. And you can see that the SBOM is where we actually hook in Ortelius deploy hub CLI to record this off into the deploy hub team database. So we're actually taking the SBOM and uploading it at that point. So that's what's kind of happening on that front. It adds a little bit of time, but it's I've seen builds run longer. You know, these are usually, you can see the code QL seems to be one of the longer ones at just under 5 minutes. But I didn't enable the checks to say code QL has to be passed before you can move on, do your PR merge. Let's see the build push. Yeah, these, let's look at main. Yeah, the main's coming in at about just under 5 minutes. So it's like, it seems like about a 5-minute run.
Yeah.
Which isn't the end of the world. I never looked at this one to see how this one.
5 minutes, not bad at all.
Slow and steady wins the race.
And like I said, a lot of these are running in parallel. So that's what's happening on that front. Just want to bring that up so everybody understands what's the direction we're going on the linting side, and getting all of the our scores taken care of. So if you look at Artifact Hub, we're going to be like at a C or D right now. I figured out the so one of the things I go in pretty much every day is go check where we're at. So we're at a C vulnerability report. And part of that is because of a issue with the crypto and SSL at the operating system level. So the fix for this is bumping the base image of Wolfie to the next version in the Docker file, and then it'll clean it up. But there's a bunch of stuff I'm gonna take care of all at once. So if you'll go over to, so I can go out, I just wrote a script to tell me all the open pull requests and what's happening on all of our current version. I'll do the same thing for the new microservices. So I can tell right now that we have to bump requests in Alchemy. You know, these minor bumps usually don't break anything. This one may cause us issues. But that's where after everything's been released, I'll go out and grab the latest Helm charts, download them, and run them in kind to make sure everything's running correctly.
Can you share that script? I want to play with it.
Yep, I will drop it in Discord.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. Basically just, and then I can go through and approve them. So if you pass in the approve parameter, it does use the GitHub command line. So you have to have GH installed.
Okay. How is it getting your GitHub account?
I don't remember. I think GH has I can't remember if you do like a GH login.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's GH login.
Oh
It's
yeah.
got and you've got some flags you can use with it. Yeah, you're right, Steve. I think it's
I think you do a GH login and then it persists your token somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will figure it out.
Yeah, I don't have my token. Sometimes sometimes you have to put the token as an environment variable, but I think you do in this case it's a GH login.
Yeah, I am drawing it now.
Yeah, and I'll drop this script in there. So that's kind of what we got going on. I will be going in hopefully next week and adding bounties to all the new issues. I have a better feel for how long things are going to take. So expect that to get in place. We will need help, Arvin and Sasha, on the Helm charts and getting all the repos rolled out with the template once I get it done.
Cool. It sounds like awesome stuff to do.
Yeah, that
Yep.
will be great.
Mm.
Mm.
And we can use
And
the
does
dev
you have-
environment for testing.
Yeah, and then if we'll probably need a new another Terraform for
The new,
the current one versus the new one.
yeah, it'll be great to check, right? It's really great. Now we've got these environments we can compare very easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get on that. I'm gonna create myself an issue.
Yeah, take me with you. I want to learn it from beginning this time.
Yeah,
Roger
so
that, Arvind.
and then
Copilot.
then we'll figure out some coding times and get that out there and get folks paired up.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that you have today's meeting with Brad McCoy.
I haven't talked to Brad in a long time. So I will have to, I don't know if he's going to be in, I don't think he's going to be in Vancouver.
He's not going to be in Vancouver, but he did want to restart the afternoon meetings. I just never followed up with you to tell you to do that. I think you probably should just reach out and see if he wants to, if those times still work and if we can start them again.
Okay. I will get that sorted out.
But he said he did want to do that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because
He
I
also
want
said-
update for the Argo CD work.
Yep.
So Brad was saying something about the clusters. They are not in good state or something.
Yeah, I saw him open an issue to rebuild them. And part of that, I think, was there's a new version of Kubernetes. Well, put it this way, there's, I think you can get 127, 126 or 127. And the other ones, the version that we're probably on is going to be obsoleted pretty soon. So, yeah, I think a rebuild would be pretty good to do.
Mhm.
It's quite cool with dev environments that you can actually use the latest versions or newer versions before running and testing it on, before going ahead with Ortelius, right? Just to see how things behave.
Yeah, that'll be one of the things that we need to figure out is how to do testing as part of the workflow.
Mm. Yeah.
Because one of the things, you can run Docker images in the workflows, so you can actually kick off the image, and I think you can figure out how to connect back to it, and then do some stuff like that. And we could basically do a simple, even hitting the health check URL would work, just to see if there's no problems with one of the package dependencies.
Yeah, cool.
So the one thing we need to do on that front is just have a database to connect up to for the health check. But we should create an issue around that, on adding some test cases or test runs to the workflows.
If you do add it to that DevOps project.
Okay. So that's what we got going on. Anybody have any other questions, comments?
No, it's just that Ortelius is so darn cool. It's like we're learning such cool stuff.
Getting there.
No,
I
I mean,
am
check how far
glad
we've
that
come in 2 years. It's like amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
learned
am
so
also glad
much.
that the coding sessions are coming back.
Think how much we've
That,
learned in
that
2 years. It's like insane, man.
So
yeah,
I'm gonna on a parting note, I'm going to throw out there something for you guys to think about is how we should handle notifications. So we know because we have the CVEs and the SBOMs and all that stuff, whether a component has needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
So as part of that, we need to figure out how we want to notify people. If we want a Slack channel, if we want a Discord, or if we want email.
Discord sounds like a plan. But then do you
Yeah.
think they'll just be, I mean, how many do you get a day? Do you roughly know? Is it like a lot? Is it minimal?
You have to bump, the dependent bot comes through pretty much every day,
Okay.
or every other day at the most, where we have to bump a version. It's amazing how fast things are changing.
And what method has other people used with success in this type of thing? Because I know when I used Slack at some companies, I had a Slack channel just to handle all of that stuff. But I mean, I don't know if that's the best way. I mean, I don't want to use Slack. I'm just using Slack as an example because we already have
Yeah.
Discord, so it makes sense to keep it in Discord. But yeah,
So
I have an idea.
Yep.
If we are just making it for the client and not for the developer, then we can do something like not notifying them every day. Instead, we make a newsletter and we can give them monthly updates.
Yeah, I think monthly is going to be too slow. I think it's going to be, pretty much if you have a CVE that comes through that already has a fix that you want to be able to notify them pretty much within a couple minutes.
yeah.
As soon
I
as
mean,
possible.
as soon as possible. Yeah. And especially, which is quite cool, is that we all cross different time zones, so it's quite a good coverage.
Because right now, the way I do it is I go out to Artifact Hub and I look at our score every day.
Okay.
It's
But
very
you want to
manual.
automate that.
Yeah. And we have the data inside of Ortelius that we should be able to do something with that. So we don't have to solve it now, but just think about other, poke around, see what other people have done. You got the whole pull request world that you can create instant pull requests because we know the repository we know stuff. At the component level, we know the repository, we know the version, the commit. We know the CVEs that are for that. We can go out to the CVE database and see if it's fixed or not fixed.
Do you have to ask yourself the question whether if you have an auto patching mode for the very high ones, right? There's different levels, right? Is there different levels of security issues?
Yes, there are different. I think
there's like a red, which is super bad.
I think there's low, medium, high, and critical.
Okay, so I suppose you'd want the critical and the high, probably auto, for example. And you'd probably, I'm just thinking out loud here, I would rather have my application broken because I patched something that was critical, super critical or high than have some hackers or somebody abuse my security of my application and have it down that way.
Yeah, it's one of those, we don't have to necessarily get into the patching side. We just have to worry about the notification side at this point.
Okay. But I suppose automating the critical and the high would be better, right?
Yeah, if somebody, and that may be part of the notification process, saying I want to be only notified at critical.
Oh yeah.
We can create another channel in the Discord for getting those critical one, but we have to do some work.
I like Discord because I'm in it every day, and that's where Ortelius convenes, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I'm totally open to whatever anyone else thinks. I just want to try and reduce context switching. That's all.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm throwing it out there for you guys to think about it, because it's not a trivial problem to solve.
No.
It can get complicated pretty quick.
Yeah, it can. Cool.
So think about it, and we'll see what we come up with, and we can continue the discussion on Discord.
Cool.
So that's what I have for today. Anybody else have anything else?
Great work. Jeez, I learned a lot. Thanks, Steve.
All right, cool. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
Have a good day. Bye.
See you
Cheers.
later.